live from the Bayside Bunker. It's another edition of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, and we're coming at you with a big one tonight as we cover Gotham Stakes Day. Not only all stakes on Saturday, but also the full late pick 5. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you guys all so much for joining the show. I greatly appreciate if you guys do end up enjoying the show, which we hopefully expect you to do. Please go down below the video player, hit the like button, and hit the subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it because not only is it 100% completely free to do and the best way to help out our channel, but it also pushes these videos and others of ours out into YouTube's algorithm to hopefully bring more horse players to the HHH Racing Podcast. And of course, for that, we thank you. Scrolling on the bottom of the screen right now, you can see our normal podcast schedule for every single week here, 52 weeks out of the year. Every single Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern is our West Coast show, Pacific Horseplayers, with Noah, Ryan, and Jackson. Every single Wednesday right here with Bettin N Boozin at 8 p.m. Eastern. And with Picks and Ponies every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Howard, Pete, and Paul. And they're covering a massive card tomorrow in the Fountain of Youth card over at Gulfstream Park, which I will actually be there for on Saturday. So if anyone is going to be out there, please don't feel free to please feel free to reach out. Don't hesitate to reach out. I combined those two and it did not sound very good, so I apologize. Please feel free to reach out. My X handle is right there on my name card at AP Roscoe K. I'll also post pics for both this card at Aqueduct and the Fountain of Youth card. So if that interests you at all, please follow me over on X and follow the other two while they're at it when I bring them up on the screen. You can find, of course, all of our podcasts in audio form as well over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. So please rate and subscribe over there as well if that interests you. Lots of short form content coming your guys' way this weekend from Fountain of Youth Day. So follow us over on TikTok and Instagram at Bettin N Boozin Podcast. We, of course, have our sponsored shows every week. So we always love to thank our sponsors. The leaderboard every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, with brought to you by our good friends over at Twinspires, as every episode of Bettin N Boozin is. It's a fantastic show denoting live money contest play every single weekend. We had a bunch of recent successes, including Chris Couples winning the Pegasus Betting Challenge, who's a recurring guest on there. Matt Miller wins at least 1 to 2 tournaments every single week. Howard and Noah Maher, as well as Jackson Muniz, all co-host that show. So fantastic. Whether you're a brand new contest player or a seasoned veteran, the leaderboard is always a good show to tune into, again, every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Wire to Wires, of course, every single Thursday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and that is brought to you by our good friends over at Santa Anita and First Bet. We talk the coast-to-coast pick 5 at Gulfstream Park and Santa Anita every single Saturday, and that is Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, of course, and Triple Crown Trail with Adelphi Racing Club. They had a fantastic winner in Gratefully over the past weekend, so congratulations to Matt Guterre and them. I picked you on top, man. I did not mush you, so I'll take that as a win for myself. If that interests you at all, please subscribe and hit the notification bell because those are taped and they come out every now and again talking about horses on the Kentucky Derby / Triple Crown Trail. There's a ton of big stuff. Of course, we also have our power picks that we sell our tip sheet every single week. Comes out to you every single Saturday with price plays, spot plays, pick 5 grids, anything you need to be successful on any given weekend. The HHH Racing Podcast has you covered with the power picks almost over 5 years running now and still well truly in the positive ROI. They really do pay for themselves, as unbiased as I can say that. You can see previous editions of those power picks before you buy them as well at hhhracingpodcast.com. I won't drone on anymore because we have a lot of races to cover for you guys tonight. We are covering 7 total races, 2 races outside late pick 5 in race 2 and race 4, and the late pick 5, which starts in race 6. So let's not waste too much time as we have 2 co-hosts joining us. One you're familiar with and one you'd be familiar with if you listen to other shows here on the HHH Racing Podcast from the Philadelphia area. Andrew Rosinski and the man filling in for Patrick tonight, of course, who couldn't be here, but we love to bring on the West Coast guys when we can. And no, it's not Noah Maher this time. It, of course, is Ryan Anderson. Ryan, it's still sunny out there in California, I see. Of course, it's been dark here for 2 hours, but thanks for joining, man. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this sun's crazy. I got curtains, and the sun is quite literally through a like 1 inch sliver back there, and it's directly in my face. So that was fantastic. But no, thanks for having me on. I always love this show because it gives me a good example or a good excuse to drink during the show.
Hey, this is the way we do it around here. Ryan, you know how we do it around here. Andrew, of course, thanks as always for joining us. It's a really nice card actually on Saturday. Not only grading wise, but lots and lots of competitive races. I think this is probably one of the hardest cards that we've covered so far on this show. So since you've been on.
Yeah, it's a pretty tricky card outside those early stakes races, but yeah, the late pick 5 looks pretty tough.
Yeah, it's definitely really tough. And whether you are going to handicap and bet the optional claiming races, which I honestly inquire even tougher than 90% of the stakes races we're going to cover, that Gotham stakes is a doozy. So we cannot wait, of course, to get there. That will be the last race we cover, which is race 10. But the first race we will cover is race 2. But first, before that, I want to bring up the chat real quick. Katie, of course, is here. Katie, I greatly appreciate. Okay. Katie, I greatly appreciate you joining the show. Terry Frank, of course, was here. Felipe Hernandez, my friend, third show of the day. Felipe, we appreciate your commitment, of course, to us and all the support you've given us over the last couple of years. Noah Meyer says traitor to the man below. As usual, guys, if you guys are new here or find yourself coming back and you haven't commented in the live chat, please comment bottom right-hand side of the screen on both YouTube and on X. We read every single one and would love to converse with you guys if you guys have handicapped these races already. As I mentioned, we're going to crack open a beer as Ryan Anderson's sipping some whiskey, and let's get them going, ladies and gentlemen. The race number 2 is the first race we're going to cover. It is the Busher Stakes, 200,000, 1 mile for 3-year-old fillies. So going the 1-turn mile at Aqueduct. And this is honestly an interesting group of 5, not only because they're actually nice fillies, but there is one cross entry in here, which we will talk about here in a second. I'll bring up the picks on the screen right now. Andrew, you and I are both going with Interstate Love Song. Ryan, you don't have that horse anywhere. You're going with the number 1 Nikon for Jaime Torres and Whit Beckman as I bring up the PPs on the screen right now. Nikon is a horse that actually has shown a lot of promise in Kentucky early. It broke her maiden really nicely going the mile at Churchill. Mile at Gulfstream Park went perfectly fine last time at her first stakes try. Now this will be third time at the distance that she loves. Brian.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. No, we're back. Look, I don't have the favorite anywhere because I do think she's a bit vulnerable. I think off of the that last effort on February the 6th, that was another strong rail bias day in a day about, I don't know, 6 days long, where the rail was fantastic. And you can see that she lost by a neck. That's because she left the rail open, and that's where the eventual winner came from. A lot of those buyers, I think, are going to come back a lot higher than what they realistically are. Meanwhile, down on the rail, you have Nikon, who's going to be second try at the mile here after just losing by a neck last time out to Hot Diva. However, 2 back at Churchill Downs, broke the maiden in impressive fashion. Hot Diva is a very decent horse in her own right, winning the cash run stakes. And I really feel like Whitworth Beckham comes up here with a purpose. He doesn't ship many up here. This is his first of the meet from what I can see. But everywhere he ships, you should pay attention because as you can see, this is going to be the horse's 4th different track and 4 starts. He shipped up here last year, I believe. The name of the horse is escaping me. But he shipped up here, I believe, for this race, if I'm not mistaken. Could be the prep after this. But I do believe Nikon's going to be a horse you want to keep an eye on because I think that there is potential for them to go a little bit fast early. And this is a horse that does like to close.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I did want to bring up was the pace scenario. I think Nikon has all the chance in the world to. Actually, Andrew, you and I both have her in third. There's just a lot of weird, it's the pace scenario is the big question. Is she going to have enough pace to run into? And in theory, you would think so. Current yields as a Chad Brown horse that ran at Tampa last time. This is obviously a big jump for even Chad standards, really running probably his second string at Tampa Bay in the winter. You would argue his first string dirt horses are kept up at Aqueduct. This horse ships up from Tampa Bay to Aqueduct. So that should give you a little bit of confidence, but did go to the lead last time. The 3 is the whole key to the race, in my opinion. This horse is cross-entered in the Devona Dale on Saturday at Gulfstream, one of God knows how many stakes races at Gulfstream that day. And she has a much better chance in this race than she does there. Honestly, in the Devona Dale, she fits in, but it's a big ask, and she just seems a little slow based on numbers in that race. But she's working down at Payson, so I'm not 100% sure where she's going to go. If the 3 goes in here, my whole opinion changes, and I probably do go with Nikon in this race. But if the 3 stays in Florida, like I think she might, I think the 5 then has that ability to be able to be a little bit looser on the lead, which gives Nikon a little too much to do. That's my opinion. And I know I have the 3 in second. It's a total wait and see for this horse on where it goes. Obviously, keep an eye on scratches and changes. But Andrew, you also have the 5 in here. Was that kind of your thinking, or did you just like her straight up?
Yeah, so I just kind of assume that the 3 is probably going to just stay in Florida, hopefully. And that's why I went with the 5. But yeah, if the 3 runs here, I think the 3 might be just the best in the field, in my opinion. Even if there is a pace pressure, I think the 3 might be just better than this field. Because this field's nothing too crazy, and that's another reason why I put Current Yield in second too, just because anybody can just step up in this field and take it. It's really open for anybody's taking, but Interstate Love Song might just be the speed of the speed if the 3 doesn't show up.
Yeah, and that's really my thinking. But again, Ryan, I think all your comments are easily taken on Nikon. And honestly, like I mentioned, if the 3 does go in this spot, Nikon probably becomes my top pick in this race, just for the sole fact of that pace scenario that Ryan brought up, that if it does heat up quick, Nikon easily has the best chance to pass them all at the top of the stretch. And Current Yield, it just seems, she's slow on numbers. Obviously, you kind of just put your trust in Chad in here, Ryan, but it seems like a very tough ask for a horse that does not have the numbers that any of the other horses have. Really, she's by far the slowest.
Yeah, obviously an extremely tough ask by Chad, but he's not ever going to really throw a horse into a deep end where
Correct.
the horse doesn't have a shot. And they could have waited for, I believe it's the Gopher one, which is the next Oaks prep, if I'm not mistaken, up at the New York circuit. But look, clearly she must have trained forwardly out of that maiden breaking race. And a lot of times we have seen those numbers at Tampa maybe come up a shade light. They can sometimes be a little tough to judge. The track plays differently every day down there. So I do think Current Yield has a shot. I also thought Blazing Brad, if that one stays in the body of the field, that's another pace presence as well.
Yeah, and that's actually good to mention.
She's also
too.
cross-centered, though.
She's cross-centered in the same race, actually, in the Devona Dale. Whit Beckman, this horse is also working at Payson, which I actually didn't know that Whit Beckman had stalls at Payson. So obviously that's really good for him to have that type of training center down there. But absolutely 2 cross entries, which is why I wanted to spend at least like 2 minutes on this race, because this could easily become a field of 3. And if it comes a field of 3, it might just be Interstate Love Song's race to blow up, realistically speaking, because if she doesn't win then, I don't know when she'll ever win, basically. But in the Busher, guys, I'm going 5-3-1, Andrew's going 5-2-1, Ryan's going 1-3-2. The other stakes race outside the late pick 5 is race 4. It is the Tom Fool Stakes. It's a graded stake, actually. It's grade 3, 6 furlongs for older males, with only 5 horses entered again, which is why we're going through these a little bit quicker. But we don't have morning lines, of course, but it's most likely going to be the number 2, 1-900 for Jose Lascano and Tom Morley. You two are going with a different horse, though, in here, and actually didn't add this as a ticker, so that's my own host fail on that regard. But I'm going with 1-900. You guys are both going with Acoustic Ave, who I actually almost also put on top in this race, but ended up going with the most likely favorite. Of course, we'll never know, but you'd imagine tomorrow, then the morning lines actually come out, this horse will be favored. But Acoustic Ave, Andrew, this is a horse that for Linda that's been tried and tested over this New York circuit basically his entire life. And you're looking at 12 for 16 in the money at Aqueduct, coming off a state-bred stake placed. Now taking a little bit of a step up, but it's nothing he hasn't done before.
Yeah, I mean, this horse should be able to press the speed. Which there is a lot of speed lined up here. I don't know if anybody's to be as quick as the 2, but if the speed does go with the 2, I think there's a chance that Manny Franco might just have enough, situational, run ability left in that horse where he might not have to use much up, sitting behind a strong pace scenario and then have enough to fire late. Really likes Aqueduct, just a consistent horse overall. And Manny Franco and Linda Rice can't go wrong.
Yeah, and Ryan, you obviously agree with him and think of the same. In your terms, do you think that he'll actually be fast enough to go with the two, or are you just banking on the two kind of runs that same race that he did two back, go by himself and kind of tire out towards the end like he did at Churchill?
Look, I don't think he's the type necessarily to tire out. I think that track on November 20th, watching a few of those races back, obviously Echo again, I think much better sprinter than 1-900 was, especially at the time. But I do think Breslau from the inside, while maybe not as quick, I think that inside post is going to force the hand of Ricardo Santana early. I would expect Breslau to be forward, especially off of that last win versus Optional Claiming Company, where that was arguably his best effort of his career. I think it really was. And given there was another bias that day at Aqueduct, so that number may be a little bit higher, but he showed some speed, and Ricardo Santana should be aggressive out of there, as he tends to be. So I think that could possibly be a thorn in the side of 1-900, on top of the fact that Tom Morley is only, I believe it's 4 for 47 or 5 for 47 switching off Lasix and stakes races. And the worst race on this horse's page for 1-900 was in the Chick Lang. And Linda Rice, not known for having the strongest number switching off Lasix either. Only about 10% from the same, from 99 runners. 47 of those were in the money. Acoustic Ave was one of those last time switching off Lasix. Seems to be just an ever consistent horse. It's raced at 6 furlongs, so I hope Manny Franco keeps his horse involved early, just not pushing the pace. I hope he just kind of gets that first run on everybody else as they turn for home.
And I agree with everything you said. I did take a look at Breslau, thinking off that last race, they are going to have to send just 1-900 is obscenely fast early. And it's just a matter of, I don't know if Breslau, no matter if he draws to the inside of him or not, if he's just as fast. And if no one's as fast as this horse, if he's loose, they're basically all running for second. But if there is pressure, I completely agree with you. I have this horse in second with Acoustic Ave. I think it's most likely the horse to upset 1-900 if that is the case. And Howard, who's in the chat right now, our Adelphi Racing Club actually owns a part of 1-900. So Matt, look, the streak's, that's 2 in a row that I picked on top, Matt. So how about that? That's after not picking a single one, it feels like, over the last 2 years. I have 2 in a row. Full Moon Madness is the only other horse I want to talk quickly about, just because this is the other one that will get bet. Ran in that race that Andrew and I hammered so hard, the Laurel race at Point Doom won at somehow 5-1. I don't even think we mentioned that on the show again. I can't believe that horse went off to 5-1. But Full Moon Madness definitely has a chance. I just don't think he's as good as he used to be. And if he's not as good as he used to be, to beat a horse like 1-900 is going to be even Acoustic Ave is going to be a very tough ask. But Full Moon Madness, with how good he's run at Aqueduct, with how good his back numbers are, he will get bet a little bit. I just don't think he's the same horse that he used to be. In the race 4, in the Tom Fool, I'm going 2-4-5. Andrew and Ryan are both going 4-3-2. Base for you guys, gentlemen, not for me. Guys, the late pick 5 starts in race number 6, which we'll go into a little bit more in depth. It starts with a very tough 3-year-old New York bred maiden going 6 furlongs, of course, on the dirt. Field of 13 draws in here. And I'm not even going to attempt morning line favoritism. You guys can take a look at it for yourself later. I'm going with the number 12, Sugartown Sweetie, for Jose Lascano and Paul Barrow. Andrew's going with the number 4, Daylight Dreamer, for Manny Franco and Jeremiah Englehart. Ryan's going with the number 10, Kaz Farm Girl. And I'm going to go to you, Ryan, first, because Kaz Farm Girl is a horse that I basically played with everybody to put in here. They're very tough to try and separate in this New York State bred maiden, but Kaz Farm Girl has run the most out of them all. Never really been too close to winning, but coming back here pretty quick, actually, for I can never say his last name, and I'm Greek, and that's the worst part about it all. My Greek ancestors are rolling in the grave, but she this is a turn back, I believe, for the 10 Kaz Farm Girl, and if she does take to that turn back again, where you could argue she's definitely run her best races at 6.
Yeah, she's definitely run her best races at 6. A couple of next out winners off of her off of her, was it her last race? Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yes, off her 2-back race, going the 6 furlongs. Galinda And Tenacious Child Galinda came right back to win a state bred stakes race as the favorite that day. So obviously that's a pretty good New York bred. Last time out going the mile. One, I don't think it's her best distance. Two, she was against the bias again. And I know I'm probably going to beat that drum way too many times. But I mean, the bias at Aqueduct during like February 2nd through about the 16th was astronomical. I mean, you could tell from race 1 where every winner was going to come from on the racetrack. And Kaz Farm Girl was on the wrong side of that. She was wide in that last effort. And you could tell that she just kind of lost all action turning for home. And that was similar with a lot of other horses that day. She's going to be forward. She drew nicely to the outside, drew post 10 in that race 2 back. And I think if she gets back to that effort, which I certainly think is a possibility, I think she's going to be really tough to beat in here. Yeah.
No, and I agree with you completely. I played with this horse in first, second, third, ended up not putting her in there for the sole fact that she kind of does have that type of way to give it up a little bit. However, getting back to 6, where I do agree that she's been better. I mean, Sinafia's put this horse in the Stallion Series, so obviously thinks a little bit highly of this filly last year. Now, 5th time out, or breeding distance should be no issue at all. At the 6, and she's working very forwardly. So hopefully, you said, in a race where you hadn't have to pick hairs between a lot of these horses, Kaz Farm Girl does have the makings of a horse that can win this race. Andrew, you're going with the number 4, Daylight Dreamer. This is a first-time starter for Jeremiah Engelhardt, who I actually have in second. Ryan also has in second. The work tab speaks volumes with this one, and Manny Franco hops aboard. So lots of things to like here.
Yeah, I like the consistency, especially once this horse started training in February. She's been really just working every week or every about week and a half. And Engelhardt's pretty solid with first time starters. Nothing special, but he wins a decent amount. But I really like the Lenstar breeding on the sire here. A lot of this horse's babies have been doing pretty well. Nothing stands out, but this race is wide open, and I think that $150,000 purchase with connections like this and Manny Franco, who's probably primed to have a big day with a lot of the big shots down in Florida, this horse probably is the one that is going to take some money, and I think this one might be one of the better chances in this field.
In a race, again, where it's so hard to decipher a lot of these horses from one another, I think Daylight Dreamer is the first-time starter that I would want out of all of these. Just not only dirt sprinting of Leinster, as you mentioned, but the work tab just, again, speaks a lot of volumes in here. Not only is she working, 47s, 48s, but she's, 10 out of 121. She's 1 out of 20. So lots of horses working that day, and she's still outworking a lot of them. And in a race that's so hard to pick between, I really do also like the 4. It's definitely the one I would gravitate towards. But Sugartown Sweetie is a horse that came out last time in the exact same type of race and actually got the lead in there. She was not bet too hard that day, but she's definitely going to be bet more now, beating Rocksteady Babe, who's also in this race for Charlie Baker. I don't necessarily, and she actually was in that race that Ryan mentioned with Kaz Farm Girl, just complete back, not where she wants to be. Draws to the outside, like Ryan said with Kaz Farm Girl. If she can get close to the front, I feel like she has a really nice chance. Just going off the experience type of angle here with this one. A lot of these horses are going to need some type of experience, and I think it's going to draw a lot to have, drawn 9 of 9 last time out, lost by 1 3/4, now running back in here, going to be somewhere in the middling prices. Sugartown Sweetie is where I went to go, but if that 4 takes money, I feel like it's going to be the one to beat in this race. There's a lot of others in here. We said the 13, who I have in third, for Anthony Dutrow, not the best first time out, but 50% in the money over the past 5 years. Nyquist on the top, only sold for $90,000, which could be a little bit of a red flag, but Nyquist dirt sprinters are fantastic. Obviously draw all the way out to the 13 for a first-time starter. And this horse has been working at Palm Beach Downs. So the fact that this horse comes up here for a race like this, obviously being New York bred, could speak a little bit to what they want this horse to be. And even though I don't trust on the win end, can definitely round out your trifectas or superfectas. Really, the only horse I wanted to mention here, Ryan, was I want to see what you had on this first-time starter for Tom Morley as well. Obviously, we have other Tom Morleys that we've talked about, but American India, of American Fair on Yaupon. We've saw how good Yaupons have started out, especially sprinting on the dirt. So just wanted to get your word on this one, then we'll move on.
Yeah, it's really just the sire. I love those Yaupon firsters. He can do so little wrong going to one turn. 3-year-old firsters, he's only had 6 of them so far. This is going to be, looks like start number 7. I haven't checked around the country to see what's going on, tomorrow and Friday. But assuming this is going to be 7, that's still pretty low. But 20% with the 2-year-old first-time starters. In terms of dirt sprinting, which this race is going to be at, that's 24% from 146. So, I mean, Yaupons have been fantastic in that first crop and now start to his second crop. So I would expect this one to just have some natural speed out of there, just because those Yaupons tend to be quick when they are. This is probably going to be a pretty deep race, and I really do think any of these contenders could win, and I don't know that it would shock me whatsoever.
Yeah, it's almost like our Gulfstream Park extravaganza from last week, where if it's not one, it could be 10 of them, and I'm not sure
and
exactly
then half the
which
field
one.
still scratches, and then I still don't pick the top winner. I think my horse finished last.
Well, it's the way it goes with those 10,000. Except I had the winner, of course. Which you're talking about all these races where you have good opinions, they get strangled the last and run third, and then a race where you're like, I could literally see 12 of these horses winning out of 12. And the horse you pick on top wins, which is about
exactly as well. So
how it goes. Yeah, that's about exactly how it goes. In race 6, I'm going 12, 4, 13. Andrew's going 4, 12, 8. Ryan's going 10, 4, 5. Moving on to race number 7, guys, as I bring it up on the Aqueduct right now. It's a nice allowance going 6.5 for older New York breds, as I bring up 9 horses fielded for this contest. And the morning line favorite, again, guys, it's really tough. There's a couple coming back, including Calling Card and Fireball, and both for Mike Maker. Sir Cartwright for Jeremiah Englehart, who, spoiler, both these guys have on top. I have in third. I'm going with the number 8, Mozambique, for Ruben Silvera and Rudy Rodriguez. I'll bring up the picks on this. I'll bring up the daily racing form on the screen right now, which, of course, you can get Clocker reports every single day for Gulfstream Park and Santa Anita over on drf.com, which, again, I've basically talked them up. I say this every week, but I've talked them up for 3 years when I haven't been sponsored. So the fact that we're sponsored now by DRF, I love to sing the praises of them. I literally can't use anything else but Formulator, and I probably will forever be ruined. So unfortunate for me, but fantastic, of course, for DRF, because it's a fantastic product. Andrew, you and Ryan, like I said, both are going with the number 9, Sir Cartwright, and I bring up this is a horse that hasn't necessarily won over the past in 2025-26, broke maiden at the end of 2024, but still has run a lot of competitive, and those 80s in there are some of the best in the field.
Yeah, I think the blinkers being added on to this horse is going to get this horse more focused and hopefully have this horse run back to those numbers. I really like Jamie Rodriguez. I think is one of the more underrated riders, and especially as improving his own up in New York during the winter. But I don't know if this horse had blinkers back on that work February 21st, but that work definitely something clicked, and the horse definitely ran a little bit better. So I'm assuming that they probably put the blinkers on in that work and then seen good results, and that's why they have it on for race day. Yeah, the horse is really consistent, except for a couple duds, but you can throw out the turf races and whatnot. But this is a decent field. I feel like this is a good spot for this horse, and I do like the equipment change.
Yeah, and Ryan, it's not the ultimate equipment change, just the equipment change. Ryan, a couple of those races in there too, both those 80s were run in open company, which I feel like is something that a lot of people are going to key in on, which I think is why Sir Cartwright's probably going to be one of the lower favorites in here. However, with the blinkers on, should help keep him forwardly placed while still trying to be able to run down the lane, which I feel like is why Jeremiah Englehart ended up putting the blinkers on here.
Yeah, obviously this horse does his best running up on the front end. He got that ultimate equipment change before the debut, so he's known nothing but this lightweight entry. But look, with his best races coming up on the front end, blinkers on makes sense because kind of just lost all chance. Last time was not anywhere close to where he wanted to be. If you watch the race back, America's Back was one of the few winners on that day on February 5th. I'm going to say it again. He actually won from off the rail. The 2 went a little bit too fast. The 2 was Roofer in there. Sir Cartwright, along with the others that finished right alongside him, they were all just in quicksand going down there. The rail was the only really place that any running got done. Sir Cartwright's going to come back. The track has been relatively fair now the past about week, I would say, or, the past 3 days of racing. So I'd expect that trend to hopefully continue. But you mentioned it was competitive versus open company, gets the blinkers on and drew really nicely here to the outside. Should just be able to have some of that free running as they make their way into the far turn.
Yeah, and I think he has all the chance in the world. Just a lot of inconsistencies as of late, and with a horse that's going to be lower odds, I'm willing to look elsewhere. But 6 for 8 in the money, 2 for 3 at the distance here. This is also a weird one, I believe. Yeah, this is the 6.5. So a lot of horses. Again, it's like the 7 furlong. It's kind of that specialty distance where they're not really sprinters, but they're not really 2-turn routers. So the 6.5 is really an interesting distance, but that's actually why I ended up going with Mozambique for Rudy Rodriguez and Ruben Silveira. It's a horse that's liked Aqueduct, but has really liked the 6.5. Both 6.5, one under Ruben Silveira, have been the best races of this horse by far, and one of them being against that open company that we just mentioned with the 9. Not really bet 15-1 that day, but the last 2 races have not been very good. The last race there was off a layoff. It was not bet at all. This is getting back to the state bred company, which in theory should be a little bit easier. If he runs anywhere near those 74s or 81s, all the chance in the world to win this race. And I feel like in a race that might have a little bit of pace pressure, not too much. They actually denote favoring front runners, but Liberty Rising is a horse that likes to be forward on the rail and drawing the rail. I feel like that horse might have a little bit to go. And Fireballing for Mike Maker, this will be second off the layoff. This horse is very fast early, although kind of developed that over the last couple starts. So it'd be interesting to see where Fireballing lands, but the work tab on the bottom of the screen sure seems like that screams like this horse is going to go. So a little bit of pace pressure. And if that's my hope, I'm really hoping Mozambique sits somewhere mid-pack like he did, 3 back, 5.5 back, somewhere in that range, be able to come over the top as they all tire out about the quarter pole. And at a nice 4-5-1, get Mozambique home to kick off what's going to be a spoiler, one of my spot plays for today. But a couple others in here. I mentioned Fireballing, who Andrew, you and I both have in there. Ryan actually also mentioned the one that you have in there in Liberty Rising. So interested to hear what you like about him. But Andrew, Fireballing, this is the probably the main maker in here. Calling Card is a nice horse, but really has not had any form as of late, and this is going to be off a very long layoff for him. But that work tab again screams volumes, and there's a bunch of races on the card right here that could at least get him in the money, if not on the win end.
Yeah, I kind of just think this one might be one of the faster ones in the field, and I'll always take a maker with some early speed. And I think that that Franco takes this one over the other maker horse is also a telltale sign that this one's training better, as Franco is maker's usual first guy up in New York. And then I don't know, I think Calling Card might just be like a let's hope and pray that this horse still has ability, let's put him in this spot type feel, because this is definitely a drop in class from recent starts for Calling Card. So yeah, that's why I went with Fireballing over the other maker in my second spot.
Yeah, I mean, this horse is kind of just a 1-number horse, really. I mean, but in this race, high 70s is good enough to at least finish in the money. But off that layoff, Santana does pick up the mount, which does make me at least a little bit confident. But it's a very tough ask off that type of a layoff for Calling Card. Ryan, Liberty Rising is the last horse we'll talk about in this race. This one has the ability to set a little bit of maybe a pocket type trip in here. The only thing I didn't like was drawing the rail in this spot, although drove the rail last time and ran perfectly fine, albeit getting towards that bias days that we keep alluding to at the Duck. But if he runs that 81 back again, which in theory looks like a 1 number, but still a very impressive effort.
Yeah, in terms of the track bias, I love to check out the Aqueduct track trends that Andy Serling writes just to confirm, what my eyes see. So as long as those opinions match up, and this was oddly one of the fairer days. The issue, that's a 1 number if I've ever seen one for this horse. I don't know where that effort came from. Clearly, if he takes another step forward off of that, maybe it's kind of that light bulb angle because, finally got the maiden broken after 10 previous attempts at it. And then, obviously kind of threw in a bit of a clunker next time out. And then came right back and had a huge jump up, almost 30 points on the buyer speed figure scale. So I'm curious to see what the morning line is. I wouldn't want anything under like 3-1, 7-2, especially in a very competitive 9-horse field. I don't know that I'm going to get that. But this is a contender. And I mean, if he steps up and repeats, if he improves, everybody's running for second. But if he steps up to that last effort, he's definitely going to go deep in contention here. The worry is that it's just one number on the page that sticks out.
It's the thing is, where the heck did that come from? Dude, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy to look at that type of page and then rip off an 81 like that. Obviously, if he continues to progress, no one in this field is catching that, 84, 85. But if he returns back to the mean, then he's going to be just frankly an overbet horse in a field of a bunch of very competitive race field. I think 7-2 is probably what you'll get. I can't imagine there's going to be a very heavy favorite in this race. Probably the 9 might be somewhere around like 5-2. 7-2 Liberty Rising, 4-1, 5-1 Mozambique, somewhere like that. I think is most likely the case scenario in here. But very competitive race is your second leg of the late pick 5, and one that you either kind of have to have some opinions in and take, single 2 horses, maybe 3, or you kind of have to go 5 or 6 and hope and pray for a longer shot to hit the board. Lots of people in the chat. I'll get to you guys in a second, including a return of Christopher and G, who I want to bring up in the chat. But in race number 7, I'm going 8-9. Andrew's going 9-8. Ryan's going 9-1-8. Christopher and G, haven't seen your name in a while, my friend. Said, what is up, Bettin N Boozin crew? It's been a while, but Triple Crown preps are starting to heat up and can't wait. I'm going to the Preakness this year. Then I have been to all 3 races. That's the only one I haven't been to, Christopher. I'll have to get out there. Actually, and the funny enough, you're going at the one year that it's going to be at Laurel Park. So honestly, it's kind of a cool one to go to. The fact that it is away from Old Hilltop as it's getting completely demolished and redone in 2 years, I think. They demolished it right after the Preakness last year, I think. And they're going to build it up in 2 years when it returns to Belmont too. So we're going to have 2 full new tracks for the Triple Crown season in 27, right?
That's right. I was lucky enough to go to Preakness last year, and I was walking with a buddy of mine, and as we walked by, behind us, a ceiling tile fell off the ceiling, and we're like, all right, yeah, it's time for this place to come down a little bit. But hey, Christopher is going to be one of 4,800 at the Preakness. Yeah. Not every time you get to say that, so
that's true.
That's a positive.
Then we won't talk about that because that'll be a throwing poo-poo match between the rest of us. So we will not bring that up. But Christopher, thanks for the kind words as well. He says, always love your content when racing gets going and season heats up. Always a pleasure. Chris, always love seeing you in the chat. Thanks again for joining, guys. Let's move on to race number 8, and this kicks off the last race 9 is not a stakes race, but that is also a doozy of a race in there. Race 8 is the Stymie Stakes. It's 150,000 going the 1-turn mile for 4-year-olds and up. A field of 6, but a pretty salty field of 6 at that, probably headed by the number 2 Full Screen, the Ontario bred through Manny Franco and Brad Cox. Other than that, guys, I mean, Phileas Fogg, Yo Daddy, 2 horses that have been really tried and tested on the New York circuit. Comorambino Amoide is a horse that's very interesting to show up in a spot like this, but it is off the trainer switch to Rob Atras, so that's an interesting move. And then number 1 Ridgewood Runner for Chris Elliott, Michelle Nevin, and why not Counter Spy, the number 5. That's the only horse I didn't mention when I was talking about it. There, Andrew and I are both going with the number 2 Full Screen. However, Ryan, you're going with Ridgewood Runner. So I'll start with you. A horse that's probably most likely going to be at least 4th choice in this race, but really doesn't have numbers that far off of everyone, especially that last time out at Aqueduct, winning by 7.5 with Chris Elliott up. Now it comes back, obviously a big step up in class, but that 95 is deserving of that honor.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this horse is in razor sharp form. Got claim 2 back off Orlando Noda off that 87. Michelle Nevin who's having a hell of a meet, stepped this horse right up into protected company and huge 95 Beyer speed figure progression, and now gets to go and get the rightful try in the stakes race. This is just the horse that I want right now, going the good way, in really good form. Chris Elliott is going to be aggressive out of there. I think you can poke some holes in Full Screen. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts because I think this is a horse that's a deserving favorite. But when I look on the page, especially recently, the best races are at 2 turns. This race is going to be a 1-turn mile where the configuration is a little bit different. So I'm going to try and beat, you have some really big names. You mentioned Phileas Fogg, maybe not Counter Spy, but Cormito Amoide. He's going to be one that is going to take a little bit of money. Full Screen is obviously going to. And I think Ridgewood Runner is just the horse that's in really good form right now. And I think that's the horse I want to focus on.
Yeah, and I'll let Andrew talk first, and I'll talk about kind of what I thought with Full Screen. But Ridgewood Runner, absolutely. Andrew, you have this horse in second too. So obviously you think this horse has a little bit of ability off that race. I do agree with you. I think Chris Elliott's going to be pretty aggressive out of there. But I just think there's there's a decent amount of speed in this race. And I know, Phileas Fogg has been having that speed over 1.25 miles and 1.125 miles and stuff like that. So he might not show exactly the same amount of speed he's shown in the past, but Counter Spy is a horse that's coming from has a little bit of speed in his back form, but not necessarily as of late. But Cormabino Amoide is a horse that's always been quick out of the gate. So my whole thing with Full Screen is I think he might just completely trip out. I know he's been running against 2 turns and a lot of this stuff. But Andrew, my thought was he's in completely raging form at Aqueduct, 7 for 7 in the money. But just it's not my strongest opinion on the entire day. But I just think he might just get the best trip of them all.
Yeah, see, that's where we differ because this is my strongest play of the day.
Okay, there you go.
I just think that this horse trips out, and I don't see anybody. I mean, sure, the Phileas Fogg could run the same numbers as Full Screen's last 2, but I just don't think that those days are with us right now in this current form. I just don't see anybody being as good as Full Screen on Saturday. This horse should just trip out. There's a ton of pace pressure. And like I said, in the last couple races, Manny Franco is probably going to have a big day. And I think this is one of the races that he's almost a lock to win.
And Ryan, I know it's 2 turns the last couple, but he has the thing that I like to see when these horses are cutting back to the 1 turn. He's not necessarily like just getting there in the final 8th or whatever. Like he's taking the lead at the top, winning by, like you see on the running lines there. He's up by 5.5 at the second line right there before the ending. So he has the lead earlier. It seems like he has the ability to quicken like you want to see it going 1-turn mile. So while I think your point is very deserving because I think he is going to be a decently heavy favorite and he's going back to the 1 turn, which has not been his friend considering he's 7 for 9 without a win at the distance. However, I just think form-wise and trip-wise, he's just probably going to get the best of both worlds. However, your point is completely taken.
Yeah, no, I agree. If he runs back to those 2 numbers in the late fall, early winter at Aqueduct, everybody else is running for second by open lengths again, most likely. But a couple questions that I have on him about the short price. Where has he been, first of all? Because how is in that good a form? And then second, 4 works on the work tab for the comeback, and it seems to have missed a work looking at the 2 and 3 back works. I wonder about that a little bit. Not that he can't win. He might run off the screen, but he feels like he's either going to run off the screen or he's very, very beatable in a spot like this. Obviously, they're not going to put him up for a tag or put him in an optional claiming because he's cleared all those conditions. So come back in a stake race, see how he comes back. I think there's bigger things down the line, at least in the hopes for the Brad Cox barn.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. Like I said, not my strongest opinion, Andrew's strongest opinion, though. So he's the one that's going to take you on there. But Phileas Fogg is a horse. You don't have either of you don't have him in there. I have him in third. It's just another one. I don't think the mile's his best distance, but he has run very well at it before. Just ultra consistent mid to high 90 buyers. And whether Full Screen runs back to those last 2 efforts going 2 turns, if he does, Phileas Fogg does not beat him. If he does regress back to those 1-turn numbers he's ran before, Phileas Fogg has every single chance in the world to beat him, no matter if he's running the 1.25 mile numbers or his mile numbers from back, at the end of 2024 in that optional claimer where he won at 3 3/4 winning with a 95. But the Cigar Mile, probably too much of an ask for him, especially after going all those marathon distances, now coming back to the mile. This will be second out here. Obviously, Gustavo Rodriguez didn't get swayed enough by the Cigar Mile, puts him back in an easier spot at this rate. This is by far the classiest horse in the race, I would say. And it's just a matter of can he continue to take back to that mile distance. I probably think so. I don't know how good he can be at not his best distance in theory. Only other horse, really, actually, I'll let Ryan talk about Cormabino Amoide, then we'll move on. But Yo Daddy is a horse I have in second. Maybe a little slow on the numbers, but the miles was this horse's best distance for a long time, including at Duck itself, running back-to-back one-turn miles, back-to-back wins, including one by 5 with a 95 buyer. I know that was a very easy trip that day, but first off, a long layoff, going a mile and an eighth last time, won very convincingly over actually a pretty decent field in that optional claimer, including with Class Assist, Dreamlike, Donegal Surges, all these horses, which we will see in a race down the line. So being a nice field in there, now coming back, should get a nice trip as well. And at the mile that he's run 5 for 7 in the money and 3 of those being wins, I think Yo Daddy has every chance to win this race too, as long as he can take a step up. And he's probably the one to do that, considering he's only 5 in a race that's filled with a lot of older males. So I don't think Yo Daddy's completely out of it by any means. Ryan, last horse we want to talk about, even though we talked about 4 out of 6. Unfortunately, Counter Spy will be left out. But this is a very interesting move. This horse has really been all over the place down in the South, being at Fairgrounds, Lone Star, ran in the Charlestown Classic for Robertino Diodoro. Now moves to Rob Atris's barn and immediately moves up to New York. And you could see that he's actually been working at Fairgrounds, but ships up to here for Atris. Obviously, it seems like he had the spot in mind for this horse. Going the one-turn mile, which I don't think he's ever been at, but he really does love the 1 mile.
Yeah, he loves the 1 mile distance. This is a very interesting horse. Way earlier in the career, obviously Japanese bred, way earlier in the career, voided $20,000 maiden claiming race, and now he's a stakes caliber horse. I worry that he's not as good off Lasix. Just looking at his form, he still has run some strong races, and he still is consistent. First time in the Rob Atris barn, that's usually a good thing. Shows up in this spot with a pretty easy draw, so should just kind of get a nice comeback to the races after not racing since December 20th of last year. So this is one that, I picked this horse in third. I think he absolutely should round things out in your trifectas and any kind of exotics. And I'm going to be strong on the 1 in here, though, in Ridgewood Runner.
Obviously, I don't disagree with you by any means, even though I don't have him in there. Can easily see that Andrew has him in second, so he likes him as well. Chris, to answer your question, Jaime Rodriguez or Jamie Rodriguez is riding Phileas Fogg, not Kendrick Carmouche, which Carmouche is in Florida, isn't he?
I believe
isn't he riding
yes.
a horse in Florida?
He's there for Napoleon Solo.
Bingo, right? Exactly. So he will not
the worst
be
bet on the card.
Yeah, he also is riding a lot of races down there, though, it seems. He's spread all over the card, so.
But obviously, Kendrick Carmouche being the normal rider, he read, Phileas Fogg 5 times in a row. Chris was asking why he wasn't on there and who's on. Jamie Rodriguez is on because Kendrick will be in Florida. In race number 8, the Stymie Stakes, I'm going 2-4-3. Andrew's going 2-1-6. Ryan's going 1-2-6. Moving on to race number 9, it's a very salty optional claimer. Again, going the 1-turn mile. Out at the Duck, and it's a field of 12 in this race. Borderline favorite, I don't know. You'll find out tomorrow. I'm just going to keep saying that because I'm not going through it. I'm going with the number 4 in this race, Donegal Surges for Manny Franco and Todd Pletcher. Andrew's going with the number 3, Dreamlike for Sahin Savachi and Linda Rice. And Ryan, you were going all the way to the outside with a horse that I actually thought was a little interesting as well. And the number 12, Big Blue Line for Ruben Silvera and Fernando Abreu. However, this horse is in for the tag, but a lot of these horses are also in. I think it's over half the field is in, or exactly half the field's in for the tag. Blue Line is a 7-year-old gelding now, Ryan. He's kind of run through all those conditions, which I assume is why he's in here. Not really a horse that's good enough to run in stakes races, frankly, but a good enough horse to run in these types of, 75 to 100 optional claimers. And you can see on the page, a lot of other people think so because there's a lot of claims on the screen. What'd you like most about Big Blue Line?
Yeah, he's still a hard-knocking horse, no doubt. Look, last time out, this horse does his best running, I think, being a little more forwardly placed. He was kind of rushed into it after stumbling at the break. I don't know that the stumble was kind of the be-all, end-all, but it certainly gave him a little bit of an excuse. He got tired about halfway through that race, and they just kind of wrapped up for another day. He was claimed out of that effort by Fernando Abreu, so obviously this is still a hard-knocking horse. He still is capable of running some good numbers. At least I certainly believe so. I think the cutback is get to the 1-turn mile is going to help him. I do. Look, it is a very salty group. I think that Ruben Silvera, who's been very I would say, in tune with the races and able to lately at the racetrack. And he's had a good feel of where to get his horses early. And he's, normally aggressive more than anything. And that's kind of what I'm relying on here. That's where a lot of this horse's best runs have come from. So I'm hoping Ruben Silveira pops the gate, gets out, if not in front, then a nice stalking trip as they have a ways to go before they enter the far turn with the 1-turn mile here. So I want to take Big Blue Line. I'm sure this will be a bit of a price once the morning line comes out. I'm probably going to be pretty spready in here, though. I don't trust many runners in this race at all.
I couldn't agree with you more in that last sentiment. But horse that's 5 for 7 at the 1 mile, so always something that has a bunch of decent runs at 1-turn miles as well. So that's definitely something to look at. A horse that's been around the division for a long time in Big Blue Line. Andrew, going with Dreamlike in this race, who's the number 3 horse in here. This is one that has at times looked like, the next big thing. I know this was out of the Todd and Rapoli barn. Ran in some big races. I mean, ran the Blame, ran the Stephen Foster. Lots of high aspirations for this horse and really just never came into it. Linda Rice claimed out of a 50,000 at Saratoga. They tried to drop him in to get a win out of him, ended up losing him in there, brushed off the starter condition, brushed off the N1X condition, now comes into here in a race that does have a bunch of speed, so should be able to help out Dreamlike.
Yeah, I just think this horse is really consistent at this level. Pletcher thought highly of this horse and same with Rapoli, and they're always going to put decent horses in bigger races because Rapoli does that with his horses. He's very aggressive when he places them. And this horse just never really panned out at that level. And then I think towards the end of the that campaign with Pletcher, this horse was just really tired and needed a change. And once Linda got a hold of this horse really took a turn to the more consistent and more, impressive side. And I just think that this horse really likes Aqueduct surface. And a lot of horses that do like Aqueduct are horse for courses. And this one is that. I just think this one's going to get a good pace pressure scenario where he can run he can run into something. Gun runners always run well. So, just took a shot in a wide open field. I think you could probably use 5 or 6 horses in this field. Yeah,
and Dreamlike, if he gets that race, I know it's a 1-turn mile over a mile and an eighth, but if he gets that type of trip last time, even when you go back to the end of beginning of October last year at the 1-turn mile with Carmouche aboard, if he gets that type of trip, there's no reason why this horse can't win. He's run 90, high 80s, low 90s, even mid 90s, 2-back. That's easily good enough to win this race. It's just a matter of always the trip for him. But in a race that seems like it has a bunch of pace pressure, I do like Dreamlike. I have him in 3rd. I went with the 4, just the outside, and Donegal Surges, of course, for Donegal Racing, Todd Pletcher, Manny Franco. He's just had some really nice races out at Aqueduct. And the 1-turn mile is not necessarily his best distance. A lot would argue. However, 2-back, it sure seemed like it that day. I know DRF does the thing where it denotes either speed favoring or closing favoring types of races. That was a hard closing favor type of race, although he actually ended up getting DQ'd out of that race, as you can see right here. But, I mean, all the competition he's kept in here, BU has came back to be a very nice horse. Finally kind of realizing his type of potential last time in the toboggan, going 7 furlongs. Then Ignite the Light came back to win with a 101 buyer and an optional claimer. So Donegal Surges is keeping some really nice company. And even though he crossed the wire first, didn't end up getting the first place money, that was still a very impressive effort 2-back. And if he's able to replicate that, a lot of these horses are going to be running for second. It's not necessarily a complete one number, but it does stick out in a race where a lot of others kind of have that middling 80s, high 80s, low 90s. That 99 might end up getting him to take a little bit of money along with the Todd Pletcher tax. But I just think with the pace scenario in here, Donegal Surges has a really nice chance. And obviously, Ryan, you have him in 2nd, so you think so a little bit as well.
Yeah, I thought so too. I singled him 2-back when he won and got DQ'd, so that always hurts to look at that in the form line. So salty. I thought with it being New York, they leave it up because he won by so much. That sometimes, in the past, I guess they've done that. Whatever. We don't need to focus on that. I do think his best runs come at the 1-turn mile. And I think that there's a chance that there is some pace, even if, maybe we don't have a lot of confirmed front runners on paper 12 horse fields, you're going to get pace. You're going to get some speed in there. So obviously, while my top pick, I hope to be forward, I think this is the closer that I want, the horse coming from off the pace. Dreamlike is pretty reliable, pretty hard knocking. I'm curious what the price discrepancy is going to be on those two. I feel like Dreamlike's going to get bet maybe a little bit more off of at least the consistent recent efforts, and Donegal Surges really just has one, maybe two races to kind of get back to in that recent form. So I'm going to take Donegal Surges in second here. He will certainly be on all my horizontal tickets, as I think he loves the one-turn configuration, or at least I think it fits him the best.
Yeah, and at Aqueduct, not that Wilson shoot stuff at Saratoga.
Yeah, correct. Not that Wilson shoot mess.
No, that the one-turn mile at Aqueduct, I do agree with you completely, and this is the one closer I do want, even though I do also have Dreamlike in third. Andrew, we'll go quickly here, and then we'll move on, of course, to what everyone wants to hear about, which is the Gotham Stakes, which will take us a little bit. We are going a little bit over time. However, we had 7 races to cover, so hopefully people can give us a break. Real quick, I'll talk about Whittington Park. Just another horse that might be able to take care of the pace scenario. One-turn mile, this horse has been tried and tested at it. Run more than fine at Aqueduct. This is my complete, fall apart type horse in here. And if that does happen, Rudy Rodriguez and Jose Gomez should have at least a nice piece to be able to pick up some exotics, exactus, trifecta, superfectas. While I don't think he's a win candidate, I think he's definitely has a good chance to be in that type of conversation. Right, Andrew, the last horses we'll talk about here is V Cruiser and Bromito, who you have in second and third. Bromito's actually a really nice horse, middling pack type closer, now trained in Steven Showers' barn, who's a smaller barn, but has some very nice numbers attached to that. And V Cruiser, who's a horse that has had seems like he has a lot of talent. Just don't know where he's been. It almost seems like he's just been a little ouchy. So what did you like most about these two?
Well, I'll start with V Cruiser. I really like V Cruiser as a horse. I just think that I don't like you said, there's a lot of question marks around why this horse's consistency isn't there. I just think that this has been enough layoff that this horse might be able to get back to those first 2 starts, and those first 2 starts showed a lot of promise. It's just, can this horse run consistently back to back and and stay healthy? But I'll take a shot underneath, and then Bramito. I just can't pass up a trainer that's 10 for 31. And then on top of that, owns the horse, and a horse that's, since, being claimed, kept the numbers, is running mid 80s in a field that is wide open like this. I just use this horse underneath and, hopefully get a price.
Yeah. And again, in the race, like you said, that we can use 5 or 6 in. I feel like the prices will be coming underneath, just a matter of which closer really do you end up picking underneath. Before we get to the Gotham guys, race number 9, 4-11-3 for me. Andrew's going 3-8-9. Ryan's going 12-4-1. Shout out to Doubling Down Show, a couple of Andrew's buddies. What's up? Great weekend ahead is absolutely the case. A bunch of other people in there. Felipe's play of the day is Yo Daddy in the race before that we talked about. So shout out to you, Felipe. Hopefully you can get that one home. Obviously, I like him a little bit as well. The feature on the day, guys, is race number 10, the last race of the day, ending of the late pick 5, pick 6, everything in between. The Gotham Stakes, going the one-turn mile. Seems like every race is the one-turn mile this card. 3-year-olds, 300,000 on the line. Of course, Kentucky Derby points on the line as well. Field of 9 draws in for this year's edition of the Gotham Stakes. Favorite is definitely going to be the number 6, Iron Honor, from Manny Franco and Chad Brown, off of that maiden winning effort. Second choice is, there's a bunch of horses in here that could take money in Balboa, Hammond, Crown the Buckeye, Creole Chrome, even Louisiana bred, coming over from Fairgrounds state bred races into this race, and I think is a little bit interesting. Actually, so do you, Andrew. How about that? It's very based, my friend, very based. And you're going 6-2-9. Completely understand why you don't have the 8 in there. I can go literally one of 2 ways, but we all are going with the 6 on top, that being Iron Honor. Ryan, talk first. Andrew, feel free to add anything you want. This race last time, I tried so I don't know about you guys. I tried so hard to pick against this horse. I really did. Trying to find anything I could to try and grab him. It's Chad Brown. I get it, but first time going 2 turns is going to be something to 5, probably close to even money, if not below it. Working down at Payson, Now comes up here trying to get away from Chad's other horses that he has running on the Derby Trail. There's so many weird things with this type of, and I never like betting horses going a little bit more of a route of ground for the first time at 4 to 5. But Ryan, this horse is realistically too good to pass up in a field that kind of is just a lot of meh to me.
Yeah, there's no huge standouts. And if this race was going 2 turns, that would have been enough for me to pick against Iron Honor. This is a 1-turn mile. This horse, if he runs anywhere, I don't think he's going to regress off the debut, but I think he could a couple points and he would still run away from them. There was no crazy bias this day at Aqueduct. And he just absolutely embarrassed the field. He did everything the right way. It's not like he's a crazy speedball type. He kind of, sat just off of the pace setter that day, took things over and was gone. And there was no catching him. It was an eye-popping performance. I'm really excited to see this horse run back because, if he steps up off of that performance and puts in another one of these where he wins, by open lengths, we could very well be, immediately kind of throwing him into that top 4 Derby conversation. Obviously, he's got to pass that 2-turn test at some point. I'd imagine that would come next in the Wood.
I'd say, I tell you what, Ryan, that's really what turned me on to this horse. Without being pause.
Hey now.
Without being pause, he's the professionalism that this horse showed. I know he was green in the stretch, kind of leaned on the 3 as he went by him, but being able to, have a horse run in front of him by 3 lengths, not chasing, just being perfectly able to buy his time, heads him at the top of the stretch, switches leads on command, and goes. And again, I know he didn't go right by it, a little bit green. Again, not saying it's Sierra Leone with the type of left action. Shout out to having pain when you see it. PTSD, Ryan. That's PTSD. But just being able to be professional like that, and now comes into a race where there's a lot of speed in it. I feel like just the 6 in this race, Iron Honor, it's very, very tough for me to try and beat him. And I completely agree with you, Ryan, that if this race was a 1 1/16 at Aqueduct, my opinion completely changes. However, it's a 1-turn mile, so it's hard to try and beat him. A couple others came out of that race too, and crossing the channel. The horse that he beat in there came back to win, was up by a country mile in the stretch, and actually almost just got run down at 2 to 5. But Right to Party also came back, who's actually in the Gotham on Saturday. But Iron Honor, Andrew, again, just too many good things for me to play against this horse on Saturday.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this horse to come back off that maiden victory. And I'm glad that this is the spot because I like the confidence that Chad has in this horse. But in a field that's full of speed and quit in my opinion, this horse is the only one that likes to that showed that it could even pass a horse. And I think that game effort down the stretch and putting away a horse that came back to win again next time out, and really both the second and third places horses came back to win with respectable buyers. I think that this horse is the one to beat, and it just sucks that it's going to be 3 to 5.
Really, that's kind of exactly what it is, considering a lot of these other horses are just not up to the snuff, at least of that number that he ran last time out. Creole Chrome is a cross-entered horse running at Fairgrounds. This is a pretty tough ask. Going from state-bred Louisiana races, Andrew, to this race and going the route of ground kind of for the first time, but he's been steadily increasing buyers, and time form actually has him a little bit slower than that 87 buyer, which is interesting. But he's working super forwardly. He is Triple Crown nominated, so I wouldn't doubt if he does show up in this race, especially with the way it's carded. And this is just another one of those horses that showed that has the ability to sit and pass.
Yeah, I think this is like the only other one I think that could honestly pass horses. And that's why I put this horse second. I think that this horse is really coming into good form for Joe Sharp. And, Torres is already going to be out here anyway, riding a couple other horses, or he's at least carded. So I'm assuming that this horse is going to be here because he's also on this horse in the stake. So I'm assuming this is why Torres is coming up to New York, is to ride this one. But we'll see. It might stay in Fairgrounds. Who knows? But this horse is working lights out, very consistent, and then just improving every start. It's just whether or not that this horse can take to open company and not state breds.
Yeah, and this is the thing that the thing that I had a question about was Volatile. Volatile is not necessarily the greatest with going that route of ground, at least for his progeny. But Funny Moon was a very nice 2-turn horse for Christophe Clement, a multiple graded stakes winner, including a Grade 1 winner in the CCA Oaks. And this T is actually a sibling who was a winner, actually multiple Grade 2 placed for Papa out on the West Coast in 2021. So does have the progeny to back it up. Again, that's the difference of Curlin versus Volatile maybe,
Right.
But I still think Creole Chrome at least is worth a look and might just be a straight exact to play for me. 6-8. Ryan, you're going with 2 Hammond, which I think is a very interesting addition to this race, considering Safi ships this one up to Aqueduct. Jamie Rodriguez hops aboard this one. You could argue it's just Safi trying to get away of what the heck the Fountain of Youth is this year. But Hammond, this is another one where I have a couple like breeding questions going the little bit more of a distance, but past the 6.5 furlong in the juvenile sprint very nicely. Second off, a little bit of a layoff here for Hammond.
Yeah, look, Safi Joseph shipping up to New York in stakes races on the dirt, 17 for 92, but a $3.94 ROI, has a good percentage of those that finish in the money that did not win. I like this horse's last time out effort. I like the way that he finished. Solitude Dude is a very classy horse, and we're going to see him, I think, in the Fountain of Youth. And then Class President is running in the Rebel. So both of those are stepping up into wildly deep water, or very deep waters, I should say, not wildly for their caliber. Hammond's not up to that cut, though. Outside of Iron Honor, I don't know that there's any horse in here that I am remotely scared of. This is probably going to be an exacta play for me. I feel like Hammond closes really nicely, and I do think the stretch out of the furlong, while I don't know that the 1.25 miles is going to be his best distance, I think the 1-turn mile could very much be in his wheelhouse for the son of Charlatan. And second off the layoff for Safi, obviously was odds-on favorite 2 and 3 back in those open-length victories, and then went all the way up to 24-1. So that kind of shows that he was in over his head in a race like that. Finished still a very nice third, given it was a clear third, pretty far and away there.
Yeah,
he could definitely step up here. He can close the gap late. And I think that there's probably 4 or 5 need the lead pace types in here. And they're all either going to be battling on the front end or they're not going to get the lead. And that leads me to believe that some of them, if not all of them, are going to quit. And I think Hammond's going to be the one picking up those pieces. So I'll take the Iron Honor Hammond exacta in the Gotham.
Yeah, and if Hammond's a little bit of a price, I might have to take that as well, along with Creole Chrome. Mm-hmm. Just thinking of the 6, obviously pretty highly. You're getting 6 to 8 to 10-1 on those exactas most likely. So I'll gladly take every bit of that, trying to create some value with that number 6 horse in this race. I was there, the Swale was actually, like you said, Ryan, a very nice race in terms of what came out of that. You mentioned that one's running the Fountain of Youth, one's running out of the Rebel. That was one of the fastest CAWs I've ever watched on Solitude Dude. Went from 9-5 to 1-1 to 1-5 in approximately a minute and a half. That was some of the wildest things I've ever seen at Gulfstream Park, let alone anywhere, which of course is a whole different conversation that we don't need to have right now. But Hammond, I do agree, has a lot of chance to at least squeak in the money here. Dirty Rich, last horse we'll talk about, Ryan, because Peter Miller, of course, West Coast trainee, has run at Oaklawn Park. And the fact that this horse ships here, I thought was very interesting with those Oaklawn Park Derby preps coming up. This horse has been working at Oaklawn. Last 2 races have been at Oaklawn in these types of kind of prep races, trying to get ready for that Kentucky Derby season. Said he ends up here.
Yeah, ends up here. That is a weird spot, although I do feel like this is the fastest horse early. No idea how far he can go. I just know he's going to be in front. And if, Ramon Vasquez, who appears to be coming up here, I don't know if that's going to stay, because I know obviously Oaklawn has a huge card on Sunday, but I could see the 2-day travel thing working out for him. I was surprised to see he wasn't cross-entered. I think he's going to get in front. Who knows what happens after that? But if he gets out in front and, he just kind of manages to plod along, he could very well round out tries or supers in here. And I think you're going to get a generous price on him.
Well, his only try over 6 furlongs is the Del Mar Juvenile Turf. So it's a very interesting.
He's still at the quarter pole in that race, matter of fact.
He might still be. I think he stopped there, to be completely honest with you. So he might still be there right now. And hopefully he's a little bit farther than that on Saturday. But again, just a very interesting type of position for Dirty Rich to show up in. Chris NG says, horses I can't wait to watch this weekend, Silent Tactics and the Rebel. I think a lot of people are looking forward to watching him run back. And then Chief Wallaby's last race, of course, was fantastic. Big step up from the Fountain of Youth. I think will probably be, I don't want to say a bad bet, but going from a race like that into such deep water of the Fountain of Youth, I feel like is a tough ask. However, that race I was there for. You might not see one of the more impressive maiden races like that. However, I think it's very interesting to see him come back in that race.
It is. I find it a little bit weird, and I think it was the Gallop Out show that I did with Jackson. If not, it was one of our other previews for the Derby preps over on the Gallop Out. But Jackson had mentioned a good point that they tried to enter Chief Wallaby in an allowance race on Sunday, going 7 panels, and it did not fill. So then Plan B was the Fountain of Youth, and if you look through that race card for Chief Wallaby, debuted on the same day as Thunderously for Bill Mott, who obviously very impressive winner. Bill Mott said about Thunderously when he was off the trail, the Derby was coming up a little quick. Then why is Chief Wallaby in this spot? That makes me think either one, he was trainer speak on Thunderously and he's doing the right thing as he always does, or this is truly Plan B for Chief Wallaby and maybe they're just trying to see what they have with him. I think he's going to be overbet because of that. And I don't want any part of him, but hey, I mean, if he's your pick in that race, I'm not going to poo-poo it. I just think he's going to be too short for what the overall plan is for the horse.
And I kind of hinted at that a little bit as well. I have actually a very strong liking to a horse in that race. Ryan knows who I'm talking about. I think
we have the exact same. Yep.
So hopefully I can start bragging a little bit. Someone's got to get up to Howard's status with Paladin, and if I can get a Derby starter in the gate, I'll gladly have that.
Jackson, our guy, has Iron Honor at like 121 to 1.
Does he? Sick. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's gonna like this effort on Saturday.
Yes, he is.
Thank you.
He's the guy I'm rooting for. I didn't place.
I like Napoleon Solo, so I'm hoping that horse runs.
Yeah,
good.
And I'll tell you what, 120. I'd much rather have him at 121 over Commandment that I have at 30 to 1 or something like that. So, granted, bigger bet for me, but if Jackson get that 100, anything over 100 to 1 is obviously always fantastic to have.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Good luck, of course, to Jackson then on Saturday with Iron Honor. Best bets, and then we'll close out the show, guys. I know it's been a long one, but thank you guys all so much for watching. We've had some nice viewership all the way through, and if you did enjoy the podcast tonight, please go download the video player here on YouTube. Hit the like button. We would greatly appreciate it because it shows us that you guys are also enjoying the content that we're putting out. Ryan, I'll let you go first because you're technically like the guest, if you will, even though people watch you every single Tuesday on this podcast. Race 6, a win on the number 10, Kaz Farm Girl. Talked about why you like that one. And then straight double, 12 over 6. You and I have very similar thinking in here, obviously just with a little bit different horses.
Yeah, race 6, I think it's a very competitive race, and you're going to get your price on whoever you like in there. First-time starters can absolutely win, but I think if Kaz Farm Girl gets back to that nice 6-furlong effort 2 back when Hernandez was aboard again for a good third-place finish behind a stake winner next time out in Galinda, I absolutely think Kaz Farm Girl can redeem herself after not a bad performance, because again, it was against that bias that day. And then, the second best bet, I mentioned race number 9. I'm probably going to be pretty spready in horizontals. I don't want to do that though for this late double. I just got to go with my top pick because Iron Honor is going to be 3 to 5 on the win end, if not lower, and going to play 1 to 5, probably 1 to 9 in horizontals for the most part. So I'm going to go with the number 12 in Big Blue Line. Just going to hope that he kind of rewrites that form off that bad last out performance. Hope he can get back on the right track. I should get a decent price out of that double, maybe 14 plus to 1. I don't know what the morning lines are going to be. I'll trust whatever they are though, because Aragona is the best in the business. But yeah, that 12-6 double I will play if I can get a little bit of the number 4 Donegal Surges in there and have it not dilute me too much. I'll play a little bit of that as well because I do like that horse a good bit in there. But 12-6 for the main part will be my second best bet on the card.
Stealing my thunder, I see. Right, Andrew, going with race 8, win on number 2, full screen. Andrew, you talked about it already, but just to re-hit it, your best opinion on the day.
Yeah, I just think that this horse hopefully keeps its form. And I don't have any worry about the distance just because those last 2 races, something either clicked or something, I don't know, but Yeah, that horse shouldn't have an issue at 1 mile, a 1 turn mile, like it has before.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely. Obviously, I had the horse on top as well, Andrew. Good luck with your best bet. It's very similar thinking, Ryan, just with a little bit different of a flavor. Race 7, win on the number 8, Mozambique. Just so many holes I can poke in a lot of other horses in there. If he's going to be the one to pass, I'll take him at about 5-1, 9-2, somewhere in there. I feel like that is a good enough price to try and take and beat a couple of the favorites in that race. And race 9, basically, like I said, exactly with Ryan. Stole my thunder a little bit, but I am going to go Donegal Surges, trying to get a little bit of value with the number 6 Iron Honor. And there again, 3-5 is going to play super low. I'm hoping to get somewhere like 5-6 to 1 on that double. It's such a big field in race 9. I feel like you're going to get actually a better price than you think on those doubles, just because there's a lot of options to be able to go. He's by far going, Iron Honor's got by far going to be the lowest number on those probables, but those probables should be at least halfway decent. You're not really going to see, I don't think, any 2, 3-1s, 4-1s even in that race, because it is such a big field. And inherently in that, there is value to be had. So I'm going to go race 9, a double, 4/6. And I feel like if Ryan's going to do it, maybe I'll play a big blue line double with Iron Honor just to do it for the boys. But Ryan, thanks again for joining me. And I'm hoping to get this one up on the wall at some point. I don't know if it will make it up there, but it's one of my favorite prints. This was given to me by Kelly Dorman too. So I'm excited to put that one up. I don't know where it's going to go, considering there's a lot of love on the back wall right now, but I got to find a place to put it up because I love that print. But thank you guys all so much for joining. Chris, hope to see you tomorrow, and everyone, hope to see you all tomorrow in the Fountain of Youth. Chat starts Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern live. It's probably going to go about an hour and 15, hour and a half. So tune in for that on the Gulfstream Park Extravaganza. And again, if you're going to be there, I'm very excited to be there as well. Please DM me at APRoscoeK on Twitter. I would love to meet up with you, have a beverage, and hopefully win some races. And also check out Ryan Anderson's podcast, The Gallop Out, on YouTube. They do a great job over there as well. In the meantime, when you're not watching us, of course, because we're, of course, number 1, go over there and watch him and see what he has to say, considering you already see their ugly mugs on Tuesday night. But for my co-hosts, Andrew Yazinski and Ryan Anderson, this has been your host, Kyle Roscoe, in episode 170 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast, covering the road to the Kentucky Derby with Gotham Stakes Day at Aqueduct for February 28th, 2026. And until next time, everybody, crush those bets, win those photos, and stay safe, everyone. And we'll see you also on Saturday Saturday and Sunday for live editions of Weekend Warriors. So again, subscribe to the YouTube channel and tune into those live shows where, we cover racing live, brought to you by Twin Spires. Until next time, everyone, have a good night.